We continue to follow the latest in Georgia, where the federal hate crimes trial is set to begin next week for Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and William Bryan. But prosecutors instead had reached a plea deal with both of the McMichaels. But this morning in court, as the defendants attempted to plead guilty to the charges as part of the agreement over the objections of Ahmaud's family, the judge rejected the plea bargain. Lee Merritt, attorney for Ms. Wanda Cooper-Jones, joins me tonight. Lee, good to see you. When you and the family learned that federal prosecutors were looking to strike a deal with the defendants, and what were those details?
The DOJ approached Ben Crump and I about a possible plea deal that they would like for us to communicate to the family probably Friday of last week. They were not able to share the details with us at this time. We knew that they were considering 30 years of incarceration at the federal level. The important aspect of the deal that was left out was the transfer of custody, that the men, as a part of their provision of pleading, would transfer from Georgia State Prison to federal prison. We learned about that Sunday evening, and that was something the family was adamantly against.
Okay, so that is the aspect of the deal that is a no-go, that they would be spending 30 years in federal prison over state prison. For our viewers who may not understand the difference, explain why that's a problem for the family and for y'all, the attorneys.
Well, the concern was that these men have already received a sentence for life without the possibility of parole in Georgia state prisons. Georgia state prisons is considered hard time. They are overcrowded. They have very little funding. The Department of Justice is actually suing the state of Georgia because of the deplorable conditions of their prisons. By comparison, federal penitentiary is club fed. Now, any term of incarceration is of course punitive, and it's not something anybody would want to do. But when the family knew that these men were actively seeking to transfer their custody from state prison to federal prison, they wanted to oppose it, obviously.
So y'all learned about this part of the plea deal on Sunday night. Did you make the prosecutors aware of the family's objections that same night?
Well, the family made them aware. It was a direct conversation, and I take my hats off to Kristen Clark, the head of the Civil Rights Division, and her team. They have been willing to speak with the family directly. They've regularly exchanged in text messages, in direct contact with the clients. And we of course have allowed for that. And so when the family wanted to express their displeasure, they were able to do so directly.
So why do you think that the prosecutors tried to go through with the plea bargain against the family's wishes Monday?
Yeah, the prosecutors spent some time trying to convince the family that this was what was best, because they would get that confession on record. That confession means a great deal for a number of reasons. As you know, it would be very difficult for these men to appeal their state claim, so their state conviction, if they have a federal confession on record. And of course, at the federal level, they waived their right to appeal. And then these men would finally admit about the racial animus that motivated their action. And that was an interest that is not protected at the state level. There is no Georgia state hate crime statute. And so the federal prosecutors were very interested in that outcome. And I don't think they fully appreciated it, but the family was more interested in the condition of their confinement, and that these men would have to serve hard time like other murderers in the state of Georgia.
But Lee, did the family appreciate the fact that they waived their right to appeal on state and federal levels, that there could still be a chance for them on appeal for whatever issue their attorneys may file or rely on that could then jeopardize their entire sentence, right? So the fact that this plea deal would say, no matter what happens on appeal, you are serving a life sentence.
Yeah, so you've met Wanda Cooper-Jones, and Wanda Cooper-Jones had a very adamant stance that, if it takes me going to court every 3.5 years for these men to appeal their state incarceration, I'm willing to do that. I fought hard, speaking in her voice, she's fought hard to see these men convicted at the state level, back when no one cared about their incarceration at all. And she really wants to see that conviction, the integrity of that sentence maintained, even over the chance that they might continue to make appeals. And of course, we know that appeals are not all that likely for after a jury has returned a guilty verdict.
Well, it seemed, Lee, that the judge, when she rejected this plea, was less concerned about where they would be serving their time, but more concerned about the 30 years. She didn't want to be tied to a certain amount of time without fully understanding the facts and wanting the information before making such an agreement. So were you surprised by her decision to reject that plea?
I was pleasantly surprised. I would say that it's very rare, as you know, for a judge to reject a agreement between prosecutors and defendants. She said that she listened to the family, and Wanda Cooper-Jones repeatedly stated in her statement to the court that the provision that allowed these men to go to the preferred location for their incarceration was unacceptable. And I was glad that the judge heard her out.
Lee, how big of a deal is it for one of these defendants, I mean, Travis McMichael, to stand up in court and say, yes, I targeted Ahmaud Arbery solely because of the skin of his color, or the color of his skin, I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, for Wanda, to be honest, and of course, I'll speak on behalf of my client, that didn't matter to her at all. And back in November, Travis McMichael took the stand and he said why he killed Ahmaud Arbery. He offered a smug and unrepentant defense that it was something that he felt was necessary because he believed that Ahmaud Arbery was responsible for stealing items out of an open dwelling. And for him to say, actually today it was because of hate, in order for him to get a transfer to federal prison to serve out his life term in prison, she didn't think that was a fair exchange. And I back up her decision.
It's interesting, too, that what would have been, or what could still be revealed through a trial is the investigation through Travis McMichael's cell phone that investigators found that he had repeatedly used the N-word, monkeys, savages to describe African Americans, and his desire to commit crimes against Black people. Is there some sort of gratification in having that information put out there, even though people believe that these three targeted Ahmaud Arbery because he was Black? There's some gratification in having the world listen to the facts and the evidence pointing directly to their bigotry.
Yeah, as a civil rights attorney, and certainly in my conversations with the director of the Civil Rights Division, Kristen Clark, we put a huge onus on that. We rarely see hate crime convictions at this level, and the standard that it has to be proven at court, should these charges move forward, are somewhat arduous. You have to prove what's going on in someone's mind, and so to have these men make a confession would be a huge win for the civil rights community. I understand why the DOJ was so adamant about pressing forward with these charges. But what Wanda compelled the court to do today, and she repeated this statement, she says, you all want me to listen to Travis. I'm asking you all to take a moment and listen to me. And, that's a hashtag, I believe, listen to Black women. She told us what she wanted, and I think it's more important, even than this confession, that we listen to the wishes, the desires of that grieving mother.
Attorney Lee Merritt, thank you again for coming on the show and for your time tonight. Appreciate you.